It swept the Oscars, I'm pretty sure.
Did it?
Yeah.
Please tell me more.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll look.
Okay.
Ah, yes. Swept was the wrong word. It was nominated for 3 Oscars.
And how many did it win?
None.
Wow.
So I really
Swept those
cleaned up.
Hello, and welcome to Can't Believe You Haven't Seen, the show where we introduce each other to something new, whether it be a film, TV show, or something else. I'm Daniel,
And I am Daniel.
and this week I can't believe you haven't seen 12 Angry Men.
That's right, from 1997.
Absolutely not.
No?
No, the 1957 one.
I'm pulling your leg. Of course, I've seen that one.
Gosh, you have seen it?
I have now.
Ah, right. Thoughts?
My thoughts?
Well, did you like? Just give me a general. Did you like it? Did you not? You know.
Okay. Well, before having watched it, I wasn't looking forward to it because I was
I can
like,
see that.
man, 1957. That's an old film.
Oldest
And
film I've ever seen, personally.
Probably same. Oh no, I've seen The Wizard of Oz, but it's up there.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm a modern young man, so this isn't gonna appeal to me at all. But you know what? It was pretty good.
Oh yeah. I'm glad you liked it.
I'm curious to know just why you have seen this. Just
Why
how
I-
that came.
Why I have seen it?
Yeah, just how that came about. It doesn't seem like the kind of film that you would kind of just pick out and watch. So just
Well,
curious.
I don't actually know why I initially watched it. I feel like because I watched this just before I went to university, as I did. I feel like I wanted to watch some older films. Get to know what's popping.
Yeah.
So I guess I watched this as one of them. I actually referenced this in my uni interview as the 11 Men in a Room film. 'Cause I couldn't
And you
remember
still got in.
I still got in, surprisingly, yeah. But yeah, I just remember really liking it and thinking it was like a concept that sounds so boring and so dreadful, but executed really well and keeps you engaged throughout the entire thing. Fun fact, before we get into it, this was originally a play in 1954.
I knew it.
It feels like a play, kind of.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was thinking that was something I was gonna Google if you didn't already know live on air, because I was gonna be like, I'm pretty sure this was a play, because it must have been.
It was a play, and then it was adapted for stage, and then obviously this, and then it was remade in 19 something. What was it?
97.
Yeah. So I've not seen that version. Probably terrible. Who knows?
But yeah, I mean, you can definitely see how it would be a play.
Mm,
I mean, it takes place in one room, so.
yeah, which I really like that about it. So obviously we've got a nice establishing shot of the what would you call that? Court.
But yes, the
Yeah.
courtrooms.
The courtrooms. Very imposing shot, and that's where we spend the entire film, obviously. We see in the courtroom, it's the only other room that we see,
Mm.
the whole thing. See the guy, the really, bored judge. Sounds really bored.
Yeah, I made a note of that. It was like, yeah, just fucking
Yeah.
go.
Dude's in for premeditated murder, just figure it out.
So it's pretty serious, but honestly, just
Yeah,
just go talk about it.
he's seen some shit in his life, clearly. And then, yeah, we're introduced to the room that the whole film is takes part in a very
Well,
nice long shot, which I know you
yes.
love. Again.
Well, just before that, I was wondering in that first bit if we were ever going to see the alleged killer.
Yeah,
And then obviously we first get a shot of him from behind. So I was
Mhm.
thinking perhaps we won't see him, but then we do. And I was surprised at how much of how young he was. So I was like,
Mm.
oh, that's
I think-
interesting.
yeah, no, it's good that he's young there because you feel more empathy for him. I feel
For sure.
if he's some old dodgy looking dude, then you wouldn't really feel.
Yeah.
You'd probably think, yeah, he did it, whatever. So yeah, the long shot at the beginning when you first see the room, that's really nice.
That was nice.
You see them all coming in. You kind of get an idea of their personalities and stuff by the way they're walking in or what they're doing when they go in there. See, most of them aren't really bothered about it. They don't really care.
Yeah, it was one of those, because you keep, well, I say you keep saying, you've mentioned it just now, and you said it in last week's episode for Apocalypse Now as well, that I like long takes. I don't know where
You
you've
do?
gotten this idea from.
Do you not like long takes?
I like them if they're done well.
Well, there you go.
A lot of them can seem quite gimmicky.
Oh.
I'm not especially a fan of like entire films that are long takes,
I love that. I love.
because it always comes across to me as just like
Sorry, I've just thought of
Yeah.
the film that I'm gonna tell you to watch for next time.
Okay, okay. I think I know what it is by that reaction. But so I always. But this was an example of a good one because it took me a minute to sort of go, oh, the camera hasn't cut for a while. Like that's when I know it's a good one. I think when it just feels it's not in your face. It's like, look at how many camera movements I'm doing, and we haven't cut in ages, and this is fantastic. Like, no, it was just very naturally and kind of methodically just taking you through the room and through all these different characters.
Yeah,
and it was
there's
good.
actual
So,
purpose to it instead of it just being gimmicky.
It was done well, and so yeah.
I'm glad we concur. I don't know why I thought you really liked long shots, but live and you learn. So you can, again, you see how unbothered they are. Someone says, you're lucky to get a murder case.
Yeah.
Which is pretty messed up. And then at this point, so obviously, I don't know if I'm skipping forward here. No, I don't think I am. So they hold that initial vote, the show of hands, if they think he's guilty or not. And then one guy, obviously, jury number 7.
Oh, I didn't remember any of the numbers.
But number 3 was the main.
This is going to be the one time where we are excused for not remembering any of the characters' names.
Yeah. Well, only 2 have real names, don't they? There's Davis and the old guy.
I did not catch what the old guy said at the end.
No, I mean
It was like, I'm Davis, and it's like, I'm blah, blah.
We'll call him old guy. But yeah, Davis was number 7 or number 8. I think he was number 7. And the main antagonist dude was number 3. So yeah, 11 people vote guilty and 1 person votes not guilty. And that made me think, in that situation, if I was up against 11 people, would I really have what it takes to like go against the crowd? Because I don't think I would.
Well, that's why Davis is a hero. But you can kind of see how other members in the room sort of felt that way anyway, because when there is that initial vote, there are quite a few that very apprehensively raise their hands, like when they see that everybody else is done.
Yeah.
So I did notice that, and I was like, oh, that's good. But then obviously the one guy doesn't, so...
Yeah, there are a few characters that aren't... They just kind of follow what other people do, which is, I guess, realistic portrayal of what would happen. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that I would have the guts to go up against all these people and say, actually, we should talk about this, but I probably wouldn't. So they're all very, very, like, selfish people, really. Because they're all like, they want to get it over and done with. They just want to leave, even though this kid's life is at stake, and that all these people don't want to talk about it. They want to get it over and done.
I feel like that was pretty much what the film was about. It was like, isn't this crazy how we hold this person's life in our hands? And it's like, what are the different attitudes towards that, and how do these all people different, or how do all these different people go about it, and what do they think about it? And yeah, like, this is literally somebody's life that they're all,
discussing.
Yeah, and I think that's why sort of the tensions, run so high in this film. Like, that's what's at stake here, and that's kind of not forgotten.
Yeah, for sure. And it's crazy to think that is real as well.
Yeah.
That, if in real life it was a different jury, different juries would have different outcomes. Someone's life is based on the randomly selected people. It's crazy, really.
It's crazy. I'd hate to be part of a jury. I'm dreading the day where I'm potentially called up for jury service.
I feel like it would be interesting, but not in a murder case. That's like too much.
Yeah, no. You want like a
shoplifting.
Yeah, there you go. That's a nice one. That's a nice crime.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to point out is that it's just interesting. I've never really thought about this. Was it just for if it was a guilty charge that the vote had to be unanimous, or did it just have to be unanimous either way?
It had to be unanimous either way.
Right. That's just interesting to me, because on the one hand, it makes sense, because I don't suppose you could really send somebody to their death for a majority vote where it was like 7-5.
Yeah.
Then on the other hand, I feel like saying that it needs to be a unanimous decision anyway kind of doesn't make much sense, because if it had been a case like this where 11 say guilty and then 1 says not, if that had been a different person and in fact he just changes his mind and says, oh, alright, we'll do not guilty, we'll say guilty then.
Mm-hmm.
And so there you've got your unanimous vote. It's kind of weird that, they won't take a majority vote, but they will just stay in a room for a couple of hours and make like another person change their mind, basically, even if they don't necessarily actually feel that way. It kind of feels like the same thing to me.
I see what you mean.
But I guess that way, it's like, that way the legal system can then like just brush their hands off and say, well, it was a unanimous vote. So
yeah, maybe they should do an anonymous voting or something. That would be better.
Mm.
With a bigger jury. But we're not here to fix the legal system.
No, it was just interesting to me.
I agree. So we learn that the guy, or supposedly, the dude's father was killed with a switchblade
Hmm.
at a time that's like midnight or something. I can't remember the exact time.
12.
Sure. So it's a switchblade, and the kid had bought the exact same or very similar switchblade that same night. Which, initially it seems like pretty damning evidence.
Yeah.
How are they going to get out of that? But the dude breaks the law and buys a knife and brings it in.
I really liked that moment. That was good. It kind of felt badass. As badass as all these old white men can feel.
Well, I read online that actually that would just make the entire thing like null and void, because he's brought in like other evidence, so that would mean that they can't. If the judge found out, their decision would be tossed out for some reason. That doesn't really seem fair. But
No.
at this point, I wrote down that there was some slightly cheesy dialogue, which didn't really bother me that much. But I wrote, so someone said something about a bad lawyer, and one guy was just like, "Oh, you must have met my brother-in-law." I just thought, okay, like
That was I thought that as well, because I was like, why did he say that? Because obviously no one in that room knows his brother-in-law.
yeah.
So that's like an inside joke that he's just telling to no
Literally.
one. That was funny.
Like very
Well, not fun. It was funny for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
but-
Weird exposition that really wasn't needed or something.
I do just want to ask. I don't know at what point I made this note, so I'm not sure if it was in response to a particular line or the way someone was acting, but I just wrote down, is the acting good?
Yeah. I think I put something about the same thing. I put Jury 5 was very nervous and something, but he was like, one of them specifically was very overly nervous. Like, on the nose.
The one with, well, there's two with glasses, but yeah, the really kind of jittery one.
Yeah.
That was like, I'm so nervous.
I just don't know. Yeah, I feel like he was the only weak link. I feel like the rest of the acting was pretty good.
I feel
What about
like
you?
it was definitely a mixed bag, I think. I think the characters that were a lot more archetypal were sort of worse acted, so, that nervous guy.
Oh,
the
yeah.
one that was kind of quiet as well until moments where he wasn't. Like the one that had also grown up in like kind of had a rough background.
Yeah.
That guy, like he was kind of like really quiet, and like so that was his personality. And like the other guy with the glasses, who was like, I'm the stuck up nerd. Like, so they were all quite archetypal in that way.
Hard to avoid
Which-
there, I guess. When you
I guess. I mean, you do. When there's this many, people, I suppose you do have to have pretty clearly defined personalities. But
I didn't
yeah,
feel like
it
it
was just-
intruded that much.
no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't that bad. I just think it sticks out because when the other few of them do seem more like realistic people,
Yeah.
that you could meet, I think it just stands out a bit more. I think.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of going off of that, the third jury member, jury number 3, the last guy to vote not guilty, he made himself seem very, like, guilty. He looked like he was guilty of something, like,
Maybe he killed the father.
who knows? I mean, it's left open to interpretation, so he might have.
I feel like the film should have been called One Angry Man and 11 other pretty mild-mannered people.
It's not quite as catchy.
Because he looked like Sylvester Stallone when he was like shouting and stuff. he was just
He was slightly
dialed
over
up
the
to
top.
11 the whole time.
Yeah, unrealistically so, I felt. But yeah.
I feel like this film had quite a lot of... There were two sort of specific dialogue parts that I wrote down, where a lot of the film at the beginning, it was starting to feel like a bit of a drag to me, because...
Really?
Not majorly. I just mean for this particular, like after they had their initial vote, and obviously only the one guy has voted for not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like every character after that, when they would go up and talk to him individually, they all said like, "So you really think he's not guilty, huh?" And like they all said that, and then he'd have to be like, "Oh well, it's just a guess." Like it was like that same interaction like 12 different times. He was just like, "I'm just guessing." It's like.
Yeah.
And then a lot of this happened as well, where someone would come up with a new theory, and they would sort of be like talking through their point, and they would be building up to a very obvious thing that they're about to say.
Mm-hmm.
But people would be like, "What are you getting at? I don't know. Like, what are you saying? Like, what are you talking about?" And it's like it's very clear what he's leading up to with his point here.
Yeah. There's.
But everybody's like, "What are you talking about? Like, what are you going on about?" And then everybody's like, "Let him speak." It's like there was a lot of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Which just not necessarily bad. It kind of just stuck out to me because I was like, man.
I mean, yeah, going with the first point about like everyone asking the same question, I feel like it was kind of needed to be able to individually develop some of the characters, like, because it's hard to develop 12 characters at once. So it needed the moments where they're separated to be able to show more what they're feeling and stuff.
I mean, I do agree. I was just getting so sick of hearing the same conversation over and over. I think is the thing. There wasn't enough variety, I don't think, within those conversations that kind of justified it.
You mentioned that you thought it felt like it was dragging a little bit, which is interesting to me because it's not a super long film. It's like an hour and 40.
No, yeah.
Yeah. And at no point, usually during films, there's always a point where I'm like, can this just end? But both times I've watched this, I just it's just brought me through. There's no point where I'm like, this is boring now. Because it's always going somewhere. It's always moving. So it doesn't drag at all for me, even with those moments at the beginning.
No, I know I did say that it was starting to drag. That's not necessarily what I meant. I think just that particular moment that I was talking about, I was just starting to get a bit bored of the repetition.
Yeah.
But no, it is a pretty concise, short,
tight knit,
to the point, film. So I do like it for that. And it doesn't outstay its welcome at all. I think it's as long as it needs to be. And yeah, considering it's in the one location as well, I think they do. They do a good job with it, and it's a very dialogue-driven film as well, obviously, because all you've got is these characters interacting. So the script, even though there might be some weak parts, I think overall the script is obviously strong because it can sort of carry you through the whole hour and a half.
I think the way that it unravels everything slowly, I think that's really, really well done.
And I was very pleased as well, just jumping back to the very start of the film, that we were just straight into it.
Oh yeah, no messing around.
Just, right into that courtroom, and I was like, and then the judge says, "All right, go and have your discussion now." I was like, "Oh, great."
Yeah. So they have the first vote, or they have a break. Sorry, they obviously they had the first vote. They had the second vote, I think, at this point, where the guy's like, I'll abstain, and if no one else votes not guilty, then we'll go for a guilty verdict, which I thought was quite immature of him, to be honest. Not immature, not very sensible, because that's a guy's life he's gambling. He's just like, if you guys want to just vote guilty, then whatever, I don't care.
I suppose, but what else was he going to do, really?
Keep fighting until he definitely had someone on the side.
I mean, maybe. I mean, it worked out anyway, so...
Yeah. Imagine it didn't, and they all just said guilty.
Yeah. 10-minute film. Just because obviously it's the elderly man that backs him up.
Yes, it is. I like him.
Just because I was curious, and this kind of blows my mind a little bit, just to think about, obviously, we're here in the year of our Lord and Saviour 2020, watching this film from 1957, so I was just like, out of curiosity, I wonder, when the old man was born, and he was born in 1884.
That's crazy.
It's just crazy to think about.
Yeah. Well, going off of that, they're actually all dead now. So. Yeah,
12 dead men.
Well, these people, two of them start playing noughts and crosses, which I thought...
That was a moment I didn't like.
You didn't like it?
No.
Elaborate.
Because that felt like a step too far. Like, I know that they weren't taking this guy seriously because they all thought he was guilty. So, like, who's this one guy to say not guilty? But the fact that they started playing noughts and crosses together while he's speaking, I thought that's a step that's insanely childish and, like...
Yeah, but, I mean, it made the character that did it, number 3 and number 11, I feel like, specifically number 3, I feel like he's the kind of guy that would do that.
No, I
He's a
don't.
dick.
I don't buy it. I know that he was the one that was, the most against it. But even then, I don't see him to be the kind of guy that was like, all right, let's get out some noughts and crosses.
Yeah, I guess noughts and crosses is a bit weird.
Maybe if they had a deck of cards or something. Well, I
Yeah.
don't know why they would have that with them, but that would have been
Maybe it was
more believable to me
evidence.
than. Speaking of evidence, it's surprising to me that they could just say, "Hey, can we look at that knife?" Like to the guy and just like, "Can you bring us the murder weapon, please?"
Yeah,
And we will touch it with our bare hands.
but I guess at that point it's at the end of the trial, so it's like they've already done what they want to do with it, like the police and whatever. So
I guess.
who cares anymore? But yeah, I'm surprised he. Thinking about it, that dude managed to smuggle a knife, smuggle a knife into the courtroom. You would think that wouldn't be possible.
I guess it was a different time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I doubt they would have checked people back then.
True. This was the 1950s, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have another goat, another vote, another vote, and it's 8-4 now. So that's wild.
Yeah. Did you buy the individual sort of changes of heart as it progressed?
Yeah. Did you not?
I did too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I feel like it was done very believably.
Yeah. And how did you feel about all the sort of the evidence? Well, not new evidence. I think it was handled in a good way where nothing ever felt new, even though it was new, obviously to the audience.
Yeah.
It was written in such a way where it felt like it was them kind of re-examining things and looking at things in a new way, rather than like having these like Deus Ex Machinas come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Where it's like, but I don't know, but like you know what I mean.
Well, some of it was new though, because like the sound of the train being like blocking out the scream and "I'm gonna kill you," that was new, wasn't it?
But it's like what I'm saying, like they're just it's all the same evidence, but they're just looking at it in a different way.
Oh yeah, no. I see
Or
what you mean.
they're finding new angles within
Yeah.
already established evidence.
It just makes you think that guy had a really bad lawyer, really. Because why?
Oh, yeah.
Why did the lawyer not think about these things?
Well, they mentioned that, don't they? It was like, yeah, it's such a shit lawyer.
Yeah. Well, sucks to be that kid. So I'm just gonna take a pause here. So after they've done the 8-4 guilty or not, what are you thinking? Are you thinking this guy's guilty? Are you thinking he's not guilty?
I never really did think either way, because I knew that wasn't really the point of the film. So I didn't care if he was guilty or not.
Right.
I was more interested in
Them.
yeah, and just the whole concept of obviously deciding this man's fate.
Mm.
That's what I was more. I knew the film wasn't really interested in whether he was or not. I think it was just like, what does it mean to sort of be potentially someone's executioner or their savior,
Yeah.
And how can we really, judge someone like that?
Yeah. And that's shown by how they don't ever say whether they are right or not, I guess. I don't think he was guilty from all the evidence.
Fair enough.
But like the film turned me around the first time I saw it. I saw it. Obviously, he's found with a switch knife that the son bought the same night. So at first I thought, oh, he must be guilty then. But then the film, I went along with the characters, kind of like trying to find out if he's guilty or not. That's how I watched it anyway.
Fair enough. I would have almost preferred it if we'd never even knew sort of what their verdict was. I thought it was going to end with juror, was it 3, the angry one?
Yeah.
With him still being obviously the guilty vote, with the rest of them saying not guilty. Obviously that's an opposite, a switcheroo from the start of the film where it was the one not guilty to 11.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to end there.
That'd
And
be
it would
naff.
kind of have ended with them sort of having to start this cycle again of like, going through it, and it's like, well, why do you think he's guilty? And like, so I thought it was going to end like that, which I would have preferred, honestly. I think
that would have been dreadful, to be honest.
fair enough. I didn't need it as neatly wrapped up at the end as it was.
Well, they needed to come to a conclusion, though. So you're saying you would have rather you didn't want to know what the conclusion was?
Yeah, I would have been happy not knowing.
No, I disagree for that, because the whole thing would have felt pointless if by the end the jury number 7 didn't reach his goal of turning them all around or whatever. Just would have felt like, oh, I've just wasted an hour and 40 and I don't even know what happened. Even more than you actually don't know, because you don't know if he's guilty or not.
I mean, I personally would have not felt that way, but that's fine.
Well, I disagree. No, I mean, yeah.
Especially because I didn't entirely buy Juror number three's change of heart at the end.
I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure, what changed his mind exactly.
It was like he was like so angry about it, and like he was so like wholeheartedly ready to send this guy to like the electric chair, and then he was like, "Oh, but I have a son too." That was it.
Yeah, that was a bit unsatisfying, unfortunately. They didn't really explain it at all either.
I guess he just had some pretty repressed feelings, because he said something earlier in the film, didn't he, about how he like got into a fight with his son and he hadn't seen him for a couple of years. So I guess he was just harbouring some insecurities about that, and maybe he was projecting them onto this trial. So that's why he was so amped up through the whole film, and that was his.
Would it be nice
if
they played on that throughout the film instead of just right at the end thing? Like
if they just spent a little bit more time with that, I think the change of heart would have felt a bit more earned.
Yeah, even like one of those side conversations, like if you had a conversation with some other character, like, "Ooh, my son is a bit of a twat."
I didn't know all these characters were from Birmingham.
Oh, my son. No, I'll stop. One of the bits that I really liked, one of the like turning points for I think two of the characters, is when someone said, or when juror number 3 says to juror number 7, "I'll kill him," in a moment of rage. And that just made me think like, oh yeah, hell yeah.
I did love all of those they did it quite a few times as well, but it never really got bored. I liked those moments where they would say something like that and then have to kind of like, oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, he did it quite a few times where he was talking about like the old man that was an eyewitness, and he was like, he's an old man, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. It's like, oh, I've said too much.
Yeah.
That did happen quite a few times, but every time it did, I was like, yeah.
Very satisfying, yeah.
Yeah.
So they have another draw. Yeah, no, they have the first draw from about 6-6 at this point,
Oh, yes.
It's not looking as good for the guilty voters. And they start saying that they would like to just call it a hung jury at that point, I think.
Yeah.
But they don't. And then number 12 just comes out of nowhere. I don't know if the end guy on the left, I feel like we hadn't seen him like at all throughout the entire film, and then he just comes out and has this random ass speech.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. He definitely seemed like the least defined character.
Yeah.
I think his whole thing was supposed to be that he was the one that was just like not even interested in any of it.
It's not interesting to watch, though, is it?
Well, no, no. But there was that moment I think earlier on where they're doing a different vote, and it cuts to him, and like he's not even listening, and juror number 1 has to be like number 12, like.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so I think that must have just been that was his character. He's the bored one. So,
I guess.
But yeah, and then I don't know. Yeah, I didn't find him particularly. He was definitely not the weak link, because I don't think anybody was like super bad or anything. But
apart from the nervous guy, I'd say the nervous guy was the worst one.
Well, yeah, he definitely seemed like he was some kind of like cartoon character. I found this quite funny.
Go on.
When they were testing out the angle of the knife.
Yeah.
First of all, it was just quite amusing the way it was framed. Just the way they were all going up and just like squatting in front of the camera. But the fact that nobody put the blade away was just really weird. Like, it's a switchblade. You can put it away and just pretend that you're stabbing someone. But the fact that they all kept it out and were just like going up to Juror 7 just going, and like trying to, like pretending to stab him was just quite strange.
Yeah, and then there's that weird moment where they all think that number 3 is actually going to stab him because he does that.
That felt very like pantomime.
Yeah.
That did. They all stand up and are like,
oh no. Yeah. Obviously, he's not going to stab him in front of 11 other people, or 10 other people. But, yeah. It starts raining. That was crazy.
Yes, it does.
But then they keep saying how hot it is in that room. But I was thinking, shouldn't it be cold if it's raining and the windows are open?
Well, this is the US, bro.
True. Well, that was my only plot hole, and you've just sewn it up for me, so thank you.
I did think... at the start of the film when they were going on about how the air conditioning wasn't working, I was like, well, that's not going to help things.
Yeah.
You know, these boys are going to get
even more heated,
sweaty, and yeah. Apart from that one guy that said he never sweats for some reason. That was an odd interaction.
Yeah.
He was like, pardon me, don't you ever sweat? And he was like, no. And that was that. But then he does.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I think when he starts getting proven wrong, I think just before he kind of changes his mind.
Mhm.
I think it's when they're talking about how the lady has to wear eyeglasses.
Oh, I got
And he has a moment where he has to like pat his head because he's got a bit of sweat form, and it's like, well, I guess he does sweat.
It's another gotcha moment, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think that was the one bit of evidence to me that felt like a bit of a stretch. How the old man is just suddenly like, I've just remembered that woman has little marks on her nose. Like, could you really see that from your jurors like stand like to the witness chair?
yeah.
And, like,
I was actually about to tell you the one piece of evidence that I thought was a bit dodgy.
Yeah.
I thought the eyeglasses one, I guess, yeah, you saying that, it's a bit, The guy couldn't remember the name of the movie he had literally just gone to see because he went back to the house, or he went to the movies and then he went back to the house and the police were there and they questioned him. I just feel like he would have known the film he's just come from, even under those circumstances.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I do agree. That didn't really bother me as such, but I sort of do. Because that kind of makes... I suppose this is the point, because at the end of the day, we don't know if he was guilty or not.
Mm.
But that kind of points more towards him being guilty. Because you'd think that... You could believe that he'd forget about it because he'd have killed his dad, then supposedly gone to the cinema, and then come back and been arrested. So that's why he couldn't remember.
Yeah.
But if he had just gone to the cinema because, he was just going for leisure and then come home to find his dad dead,
Mm-hmm.
you'd think that he'd be able to remember it then because, those... So
Well, yeah,
that's quite a damning bit of evidence, really.
I think that was the point, though. Cause
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I just feel like surely you'd remember, even under those circumstances. He's just spent the past 2 hours of his life there. I don't know. Going back a little bit, actually, I skipped over this. When he acts out the old man in the house, like getting out of bed and then walking down the corridor, I felt like that was didn't make much sense.
No, that's definitely the kind of thing that you just can't... You can't do that
No.
and then be like, no, see, it took me 41 seconds. It's like, well, you're not the old man.
No.
So like, you can't just sort of guess how long it takes for him to walk somewhere, and So
Although I guess like the difference between 15 and 41 is quite big. So I don't know.
Also true.
But it wasn't actually 41. Fun fact. It was 30.
Oh, they do say 41 in the film, though.
Yeah,
don't
they say 41.
But it
doesn't.
But it took 30 seconds.
It doesn't cut, and it actually takes 30. Yeah. So.
Wow, that's weird.
So yeah, the switchblade thing. It was convenient that there was like a switchblade master in there who knew how to use a switchblade.
Well, he grew up rough.
True. They have another vote, 3-9.
I also, sorry, just quickly on that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's another part that was like, well, that's a bit of a stretch, actually. Like, to just say that he wouldn't have used it like this, he would have used it like this. It's, well, it depends what kind of circumstance you're in. Like, he could have just been holding it that way. That's like...
Yeah, yeah. Although, the guy said that anyone who's ever used a switchblade before would always open it that way.
Yeah.
And if you've opened it that way, you're not then going to turn it around. So, I guess it makes sense.
I guess.
Oh, yeah. Here's a bit that I really didn't get. So, they have their vote, and then someone, I can't remember who, stands up and starts making a speech. And then everyone just, like, walks off and faces the wall. Or, like, faces away from him. Did you get that?
I wasn't entirely sure what the... And it was weird as well who was left sitting down. Because...
Well, it was the three guys who voted not... Or voted guilty still, wasn't it?
Well, no. It was glasses guy, but not nervous glasses guy, like uptight glasses guy.
Mm-hmm.
Number 12, the indecisive one.
Yeah.
And then guy with hat.
Number 3?
No, number 3 is the angry one, isn't he?
Well, he didn't get up.
He did.
Did he?
Yeah, because I looked, I was like... Because it stood out to me.
That's
I was
really
like,
weird.
That's strange that he's gotten up as well.
Yeah, that is strange. I
could see that it was him, because obviously he was sitting next to Glasses Guy and there was no one sitting next to him.
Yeah.
And he was standing at the window that was like, it was close to the so I could see his face as well.
That's
So
even
he was
weirder,
standing
then.
up. So it was weird to me that he was bothered by this guy's rant. I think they were all standing up because he was going on about how people are born a certain way and how that's just what some people are like.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they were all against it, maybe. But that doesn't really make any sense anyway, because that's a point that a lot of them were making. Like, they were all saying, like, well, he comes from a pretty rough background, so he was bound to turn out like this.
Yeah. Why did someone not just say, like, shut up? Why did they all have to walk
It's
away?
very weird that they all had this strange moment of solidarity, like they were protesting.
It's
And
like
then they're all just like, go sit down.
it's almost like that moment in a musical when they break into song and everyone knows the lyrics. But like they all knew to go face the wall for some reason. Very strange.
Yeah.
So then they have the glasses point, which we've already touched on. They have another vote, 11-1 to the one guy. And then I wrote, huh? What just happened with number 3 when he changed his mind because it was very sudden?
It's pretty a dick move though. He tore up a picture of his own son.
Well, I guess he doesn't care about his son.
But then at the end, Thingy gets his jacket for him. So I guess, we're all friends here.
Everything's okay.
And
Well, yeah, no, I felt like that was kind of a nice moment, to be honest.
it was. It's a shame that he didn't say like thank you or anything.
Yeah. It was at that point, actually, I noticed that he was the only dude wearing a white suit.
That's probably
It's probably
a
something.
thing. Yeah.
Because he's the purist. Yeah, big brain.
Yes.
So yeah, you liked it overall.
Yeah, it was okay, but like on the higher side of okay,
Okay, I'll take
Like,
high okay.
like nearly good.
Wait, so it's not good then?
Well, it's goodish.
On a scale of 1 to 10,
Ooh, well,
you put you on the spot here.
well, you know this about me. I don't usually rate things out of 10.
No.
I don't like doing that. Not anymore. But you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to really think about it, and I'm going to say that this is a solid 7 out of 10.
All right, that's good. That's a good rating.
What would you give it?
I would probably put it at a 8 out of 10.
8.
Yeah. Doesn't...
Wow.
Crazy, I know. So just a few facts that I looked up after the film, because I was thinking during this, surely this wouldn't take very long to film because it's one room. I was thinking maybe they even did it in one night. They didn't.
I thought, sorry, just quickly as well. I thought that it probably, because there was quite a little bit of like fumbling over lines as well, which I didn't think took away
Makes
from
it
anything.
realistic.
'Cause obviously that makes it feel a bit more real. But I noticed it, so I thought this probably was pretty cheap and easy. But go on.
Yeah, so they rehearsed for 2 weeks, which fun. But they shot it in less than 3 weeks.
Oh, that still feels like quite a long time for what this was.
I don't know. Well, the budget was very low as well, though. It was $340,000.
Dollars. But it swept the Oscars, I'm pretty sure.
Did it?
Yeah.
Please tell me more.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll look.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head. Perhaps swept is the wrong word.
Yeah, I mean, I looked around for stuff on this film. I didn't see anything about Oscars.
Ah, yes. Swept was the wrong word. It was nominated for 3 Oscars. For Best Picture, Director, and Writing.
And how many did it win?
None.
Wow.
So I really
Swept those
cleaned up.
Oscars.
Here's something I wanted to ask, just quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think it was in black and white?
Because it's old.
No, but films were in colour by 1950s.
I don't know why they would make it. Why they would choose to make it in black and white. Maybe it was cheaper.
Could be. I mean, maybe it's... it could very well be a thing of the time. I mean, neither of us were there, so we don't know. But I know that films were being made in colour. Maybe there was just still a thing where it's like some things were in colour and some things weren't.
Yeah, I think it's a price thing. Well, I mean, I think that pretty much wraps it up from me.
Yeah, and me.
All right. Well, I mean, you should tell me what you're telling me to watch.
I'm going to do that. So next week, Daniel, I'm going to recommend that you watch a film that is near and dear to my heart.
That's always
It's a
good.
film that I love,
Okay.
and it's
Oh,
a
boy.
film that changed me as a person,
Interesting.
and that
Oh no.
is
Oh no.
and that is 2018's Aquaman.
Oh, okay, I'll take that. I'll take that.
What did you think I was going to say?
The Greatest Showman for some reason. I know you like that.
Okay. No.
I'll take
Aquaman.
Aquaman. Yeah, I wanted to watch Aquaman, so that's good then.
All right.
Very nice. I will look forward to watching and discussing that for next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay, well, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on the Twitter, follow us on Spotify, use our RSS feed, like the videos, comment on the videos. If anyone comments on this video, right, in the next episode, we will shout you out at the end.
Yes.
We'll read out the comment. So be that person, please.
Please.
Well, okay. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.
Yes, bye-bye. I've been Daniel.
And I've been Daniel. So bad.